Are you a first-time manager? If so, I got 5 management essentials to help you lead your team. Hey, welcome back to my channel. My name is Ben Preston and I help young professionals just like you build awesome teams and develop exciting careers. If you want to get more leadership advice, I have new videos every Tuesday, so make sure to hit the subscribe button below and hit the bell to be notified every time new videos come out. So let's get to it. Tip number 1, make sure that you know your company's business goal. Every manager's primary function within an organization is to take what the executive team has set out, translate that to their team, and make sure that their teams are successful in creating and executing whatever programs need to exist. And for you to be most successful, you need to know what the executives of your company, what the leaders of your company are stating as the business goals, and what the stakeholders, if you're a public company, what the stakeholders have set as your primary goal, because those are the goals that you need to ladder up to no matter what you're doing. So even if you're managing a very, very low level team, you still need to make sure that you're in line with whatever the business goals are that your executives have set. And typically businesses will outline their strategic goals toward the end of the year, maybe September, October. And those will trickle down. If they don't trickle down, a lot of times companies have communications that they'll send out either to say, here are our yearly goals, here's the 5-year plan, here's the 10-year plan. And those aren't really that difficult to get a hold of. A lot of times there might be some confidential stuff in there. And once you get those company goals, you can take those overarching goals and figure out how to translate them into a vision and goals for your team. And as you get into performance management, which I'll talk about later, you can take a lot of the business outcomes and figure out how you turn those into performance outcomes for your team members. So knowing your company goals is extremely important. And that brings us to tip number 2. Set performance expectations. Whether you're building a team from scratch or inheriting a team, you setting your expectations up front is extremely important. Setting expectations is going to be the fundamental benchmark of what you refer back to during ongoing performance reviews during the year. So how do you set performance expectations? First, you need to take the business goals that you looked at earlier that you know, figure out how they translate into your team, and then break down how every member of your team is going to contribute to that goal. So for example, if you have a revenue goal, let's say of $1 million, your company has a revenue goal of $1 million. If your team is in charge of sales, then you can say, okay, we're going to have a pipeline of 5 million potential in revenue, which, let's say that we only are expecting to get 1 million of that, and divide that number out by different sales associates so everyone has a specific number that they can work towards. That's a very tangible goal that you can set for your team. In addition to laddering to those bigger business goals, you also need to decide how you're going to evaluate your team. And there's a lot of different ways to do this depending on how sophisticated your company is or how sophisticated your team is. Sometimes you can do sort of a checklist based. So you can say, we're going to go after 10 leads today, or we're going to go after 15 leads this month, and make it more of a check base. Another way to do it is make it outcome based. So if you know that, let's say you're running a marketing team, if you know that your outcome that you want to hit a certain click-through rate on a campaign, you would need to figure out what your performance metrics would be, or your outcomes, and say, I'm going to hold my team to that 15% click-through rate. That's really high, but 15% click-through rate for all of my team members, and hold them to an outcome as opposed to a checklist. So however you want to get to that number, as long as it's 15% or higher. There's some pros and cons to each, but knowing how you evaluate your team is extremely important. And during these conversations, when you're setting expectations with your team, it's really important that you express to them or explain to them how they will succeed in your team. So what do promotion opportunities look like? What do growth opportunities look like? What do training opportunities look like? And how bonuses are distributed. If there's bonuses at your team, make sure that you're explaining that, especially to new teams. If you've inherited a team, a lot of times that they will know that information. But if you have a new team, it's really important that you explain how the bonus structures work, how promotions and profit sharing works, and making sure that they're onboarded appropriately so that everyone's on the same page with how performance is being measured at the company. Tip number 3, create processes and manage workflow. So after you've gone through and you understand your goals, you've set performance expectations, now it's kind of time to get into the gritty and figure out how you're going to manage your team, actually manage your team and what the workflows look like if you're planning on collaborating either with other departments or if you're planning on making your department or your team very, very collaborative. How are they expected to work together? There's a lot of different ways that you can do this, so it's sort of a plug and play trial and error. I would start with looking at your company and what softwares that they have available, what budgets you have available to purchase new softwares, and what existing workflows or processes exist. If you're inheriting a team, a lot of times those workflows and processes are already in place, and you may need to evaluate whether those are successful or not. If you have a new team, it's a little bit easier. It's tough and easy at the same time. It's tough because you don't have any behaviors that are pre-existing, and so you have to develop what the new processes are going to be, and sometimes it takes a little bit longer for those processes to sink in. Some things to consider when it comes to project managing and workflow is how are you going to be tracking projects? If it's something that, if you have a big team especially, how are you going to be tracking each individual person without micromanaging, because that's not what we want to do, but how do you know what everyone on your team is working on and making sure that if one person needs a resource that you can give them either the budget or access to that resource? How are you tracking those projects? Another thing that you really want to be conscious of is how are you tracking metrics? So if you have talked to your team about performance already, which you should have, if you talk to them about performance and you said, I'm going to track you on A, B, and C, do you actually have those metrics available to track them, or do you have the ability to capture those metrics? If not, you either need to go change the goals that you've made with your team or figure out a way to track those metrics moving forward. So for example, my earlier example was click-through rates. If you're tracking click-through rates as a metric, you need to make sure that you have the actual ability to collect that data to hold your team accountable to that number. Other things to consider in this category: workflow management. If you have multiple team members working across really big campaigns, how are you managing workflow? How are you managing collaboration? And how are you managing communications? A lot of times email is really overbearing, especially for more of the younger people who are getting a lot of email and aren't used to communicating in that particular style. So if you have a younger team, I mean, even if you have older teams too, but if you have a younger, pretty fresh team, you need to think of a new way to ingrain, because the way that they communicate isn't going to be the same as maybe an older generation or the way that your executives communicate. So making sure that all of your softwares and platforms work together, not only to be effective for your team, but also are not as much of a learning curve for your team, so that your team can get on those softwares and start practicing them pretty quickly. And if you're looking for some examples on what types of softwares are really good, I've used Monday.com and Asana. Both are really great platforms for project managing. If you don't have access to a paid software, you can always keep track in Excel, or sometimes teams will have Microsoft Project if you have that. To make Gantt charts, those are pretty helpful. And regarding communication, sometimes Skype for Business is really good. Email is really good. Microsoft has a platform called Microsoft Teams if your company runs with Microsoft. If you have the Google Suite, there's a lot of Google platforms, Google chat options, Google Hangout and things like that. Otherwise, you can go with a third-party vendor like Slack. Slack is really good, and I will link to all of these below so that you have all of them. If you haven't heard of them, I would recommend looking into them. Definitely do the free trial before you invest any money, and make sure that your company doesn't have any of these softwares already, because if they do, you're going to want to jump onto those platforms right away and get your team ingrained on the platforms that exist within the organization. And let me know in the comments below, is this making sense to you? Are you guys following? If so, type the word boss in the comments below. I want to make sure that you guys are with me. Tip number 4, improve your soft skills. I talked about soft skills a little bit in a previous video, and I'll link to it here so that you have access to it. In that video, I talk about your technical abilities, and as you move into a leadership position, your ability to work in politics and your ability to influence others as being crucial pieces of your management and leadership development. So when I'm talking through soft skills, what I want to say is that you're not working as much on your technical abilities as much as you are developing these other skills that you may not have been either judged on previously or may not have been as important in your development. So things like communication, your ability to collaborate, your ability to influence others, your ability to deal with adversity. and to deal with ambiguity, because a lot of times when you're working on projects, especially in middle management, you have very little direction and you're responsible for moving an entire team when you might not even know what you're supposed to be doing. So working on those soft skills and making sure that you're aware of the direction that the company is headed in, and making sure that you are in line with what your boss says, which I'll talk about in a second, but making sure that your soft skills are in line with what you need to continue doing to make sure that you are keeping pace and keeping up with what your supervisor's expectations are of you. And depending on your vertical or industry, you might have specific soft skills that other companies might not. So in marketing, one of the soft skills that people on my team are expected to do is be analytical. Analytical as a technical skill, but also analytical in their thinking and their methodical approach to solving problems. And depending on the company, if you work for a mid-size or large company, a lot of times that they will already have training programs in place. So make sure that you take advantage of your company training programs. They have multiple training programs either for new managers, so this video in addition to actual training, you'll be really prepared, or they'll have vertical specific training like how to be more analytical, how to work across adversity, how to work with genders and bias in the workplace, because that's really important too. So be aware of the different opportunities and different soft skills that you will need to succeed. And the fifth management essential for first-time managers is constantly be in alignment. A lot of times your role isn't to execute, you specifically isn't to execute a program. Your role is to make sure that your team is moving in the right direction. So you want to be in alignment with your manager and your supervisory team. You want to be in alignment with your team, and you want to be in alignment with the executives most importantly. If you can manage and if your role is to juggle all of those personalities and to expand, like I said before, your political sphere and your social sphere, and make those larger and make those soft skills more prevalent, you're going to be able to be in better alignment with your supervisor, with your team, with your executives, to make sure that your team is performing at their maximum and their optimum rate, to make sure that whatever the expectation is of you and your team, because it's not just you, the expectation of you and your team is being met, and you're being judged appropriately. So that's a lot of conversations, it's a lot of trial and error. You're not going to get it right away, but at least if you can constantly keep the lines of communication open and be trustworthy, which I mentioned in my other video if you want to go back and watch it, being in alignment with your executive team and your management and your team is extremely important for you to be successful as a young manager, and assuming that you can do the balancing act, because it is a lot of work to be in alignment with everyone at once, because people oftentimes don't agree. To be in alignment, if you can have everyone on the same page and move everyone forward in a proper direction, you will succeed and you will continue to get promoted within your organization. Granted that you take everyone else's opinions into consideration and do what's best for all of the stakeholders that depend on you. And that's it. Those are my 5 management essentials for young professionals and first-time managers. If you like this video, hit the thumbs up button, give me a comment, and don't forget to subscribe to my channel. I have new videos every Tuesday. I look forward to seeing you then.